Hey guys, Up and Nimbus here. So here we are once again talking about rare Nintendo Switch games that may be in your collection. So if you haven't seen the other two videos that I've done in this series, then be sure to check them out because we did cover games such as the original Atelier Ryza and also Xenoblade 2 Torn of the Golden Country. And how could we possibly forget the elusive and rare Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Man! Seriously, who is behind this bullshit? Also, don't forget that if you do enjoy this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as it does help small channels like my own. Okay guys, so the first game on this list is Layton's Mystery Journey, Catriel and the Millionaire's Conspiracy. Okay, that was quite a mouthful. This game had originally released on the Nintendo 3DS back in 2017. I did have it back on the 3DS when I had a 3DS collection, but alas, I got rid of my collection and I ended up getting it for the Nintendo Switch. Layton's Mystery Journey is actually the last Professor Layton game that was released. I mean, there is the new game, New World of Steam, which is supposedly coming out in 2025. However, regardless, this was the last game that was released physically. So just as a side note, the European version of this game is the cheapest on the market at the moment. However, I am looking at both the Australian and the American pricing. So at the moment, the current going price for Layton's Mystery Journey is about $100 USD, and over here in Australia it goes for about $80 AUD. So that is pretty interesting considering it's the American copy which is a little bit more expensive than the Australian copy, because it's usually the other way around where us Australians always have exacerbated prices, but it's good to know that Australia has it a little bit cheaper this time around. However, for the Americans it's just a fraction more expensive. So next up on this list I want to talk about Crystar. So this is an action JRPG that released back in 2022. The game is developed by Gemdrop Studios and is published by Furyu. Now here in Australia, this is not a game that you can walk into the store and pick up physically. It's only available in the European versions and other copies around the world. So my copy is in fact an import, and there are actually going to be a few more games like this on this list. So at the moment, Crystar is going for about $75 USD, and in the Australian dollars, it's about $100 AUD. So the pricing isn't too bad at the moment for Crystar, but you can sort of see that it's not exactly cheap either. I definitely think this is a type of game which will go up in value over time, and it's all probably thanks to the fact that it is a JRPG, it is a bit of a niche title, and anything with anime aesthetics usually ends up having a bit of value down the line. Okay, so the third game on this list is Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. Now the first time I played this game was back in 2020 during all of the lockdowns. I will admit that it's not the most ambitious JRPG out there, but it is a very fun title, and I personally love the pop idol and entertainment industry setting of the game. Tokyo Mirage Sessions had originally released on the Nintendo Wii U back in 2016, and it was a game that was made as a collaboration between both Atlus and Nintendo/Intelligent Systems Fire Emblem. In Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the game plays very similarly to both the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona series. I mean, it is Atlus after all that developed the game, and the only Fire Emblem content in this game are basically the cameo appearances of your personas essentially. Now at the moment, this game is going for about $80 USD, and over here in Australia it's going for about a solid $100 AUD. So again, this is not super duper expensive at the moment, but it is a harder to find title, probably due to the fact, again, it is a JRPG. And I'm not too sure if we're going to be getting another collaboration between Atlus and Nintendo, especially for the Fire Emblem franchise. So I would say this was a once in a lifetime opportunity for this game to come into fruition, and if they ever make a sequel, then I would definitely be all over that. Okie dokie, so the fourth game on this list is The Legend of Mana. So The Legend of Mana had originally released for the original PlayStation back in 1999 in Japan, and then 1 year later it was localized and brought overseas within the year 2000. This is the fourth entry in the Mana series and is developed by Square Enix. The Nintendo Switch remaster of The Legend of Mana released back in 2021. So at the moment, the going price for The Legend of Mana on Nintendo Switch is about $70 USD, and over here in Australia we're paying about $115 AUD. Now this is another game which doesn't actually have a physical retail version in Australia. It is a game that has to be imported, and that's exactly what I did. This is definitely a legendary JRPG series that I do highly recommend you play. Alrighty then, so the next game on this list list is Trails from Zero. So at the time, Trails from Zero had released exclusively in Japan on the PSP back in 2010. And it was only in recent times that the game was localized and brought over to the Nintendo Switch in 2022. Now the really interesting thing is that the Australian copy is actually pretty damn hard to find. I ended up pre-ordering a copy for myself so I could get that guaranteed version of the game, and I know that not everybody who watches this video will really care about the Australian copies, but because I am Australian, I have to cover them. So right now, the going price for Trails from Zero is about $80 USD, and then when we jump over to Australian shores, it is going for about $120 AUD. Now just remember that these prices do tend to fluctuate depending on if it is a brand new copy of the game or a pre-owned copy, so it's always good to keep an eye out on the fluctuating prices with these games. Okay, so the next game on this list is Grandia HD Collection. Now, I am going to be talking about the Asian copy of the game in regards to prices. The Grandia HD Collection includes both the original Grandia and also Grandia 2. So right now, when I look at online prices for Grandia HD Collection, at the moment, the current going price for America is about $65 USD. And in regards to Australian pricing, it's about $120 AUD. I'm a massive sucker for HD collections and also JRPG collections, so I could not pass this one up. I had to include it in my own Nintendo Switch collection. Alrighty then, so coming in at number 7 is World End Syndrome. Now, this is a visual novel that was released for the Nintendo Switch back in 2019. Now, the really cool thing about this game is not only do the character portraits move, but also some of the background elements and the scenery also has some moving effects. So once again, this is a game which did not get a physical retail release here in Australia, and I do want to refer to the UK version of the game. And more specifically, with the UK version of World End Syndrome, I think you could only purchase it as the limited edition. And that's why this game definitely has a bit of value behind it. So when looking at online prices, the average going price for America is about $80 USD. And in Australian pricing, it is about $130 AUD. So right now, I would say that's actually not too bad for pricing, because I remember once seeing prices go for about $200. And I'm sure there's still some copies out there that people are trying to sell for about that price, but you can get it for a bit cheaper if you look hard enough. Also, as a fun side note, this is a game that I had recommended to OJ over at Player Essence, and he has also covered it in one of his rare Switch game videos. So OJ, I highly doubt you're going to be watching this video, but it's pretty funny to see this come full circle of me recommending it to you, and now I'm finally talking about it myself on my own channel. So the next game I do want to talk about is Steins Gate Elite. Now, the first time that I got into Steins Gate was from the anime series. I haven't actually played the Steins Gate games yet, but it is something that I've been meaning to do. So Steins Gate Elite is actually a remake of the original, which had released back in 2009. I know that there are quite a few people who say that Steins Gate Elite isn't really that good compared to the original. I think it's due to the fact that they actually have the anime cutscenes in this remake, but I'll have to be the judge of that myself and check it out when I get the chance. As expected, with a visual novel slash anime style type of game, the prices are a little bit on the higher end, especially here with Australian pricing. So at the moment, Steins Gate Elite you can get for about $70 USD, and then when we jump over to my own pricing here in Australia, it is $150 AUD. I will admit, a lot of the games on this list are still pretty decent pricing for the Americans, but it's always good to compare what prices are going for America and what prices are going for Australia. And I'm so sorry if I'm not covering UK prices, so please don't get upset by that. If you want me to cover UK prices in the future, I'm more than happy to do so. Just let me know in the comments below, guys. Okay then, this is the second last game on this list of rare Switch games, and I do want to talk about Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. Now, I do want to say that this game features the iconic art style of the late Akira Toriyama, and it does make me wonder if Akira Toriyama art style based games will go up in value over time. It's going to be really hard to say, but I know what people are like, and they'll see it as an opportunity to jack up the prices on games that do feature the art style from Akira Toriyama. Now, Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince is in fact the 7th entry in the Dragon Quest Monsters series. And I'll tell you what, this game is incredibly hard to find within Australia. So when we look at the pricings for Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, America still has it pretty easy with a pricing of about $70 USD. However, with Australia's rarity, our prices are going for about $160 AUD. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's getting quite expensive expensive now, and I believe that it's including pre-owned copies of the game. So I can't possibly imagine what the brand new copies would be like, maybe even like $200. It is getting pretty insane, but it is always interesting to see what the prices are like at this point in time. The final game on this list for rare Nintendo Switch games is the Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Now the really weird thing is I tried for the life of me to look for physical American copies. However, apparently America did not get a physical of this game, which is really bizarre because I thought the US definitely would have had a physical. The Baten Kaitos games are developed by Monolith Soft, who are the guys who made the critically acclaimed Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. So if you are in America and you do want to buy yourself a copy, you would probably be looking at importing it to the US. So yes, at the moment, the going price for America is about $60 USD. However, the massive contrast is the fact that Australian prices are going for about $200 AUD. Yeah, that is a whopping amount. But that is taking into consideration the fact that I am talking about the Australian copy of the game. But usually I don't have to worry about paying those exuberant prices because I always tend to pre-order my games, so I always get them at about retail value. The fact that they've got a HD collection for Baten Kaitos really makes me wonder if we're going to get that Xeno Saga Trilogy HD. Yeah, I think that's a game that should definitely come out for at least Switch 2. So there you have it everyone, those were another set of 10 rare Nintendo Switch games that you may have in your collection. And of course, if there are any other Nintendo Switch games that you think are rare and or expensive, please let me know in the comments below. Now if you also love JRPG content and Nintendo Switch games, then be sure to like, share and subscribe, as it does help out the channel and also builds a community. So until the next time everybody, Upper Nimbus is signing off.